Good morning, friends. I am discussing on these various items of personal skills. So far, I have discussed up to recognition, which is very essential. Each one of us really enjoy it, appreciate it, like it, and we work further if we are really recognized for our services that we do. Now, today I will discuss about many more points. What is retrieval? You remember I have talked about photo memory. When you have a photo memory, you have stored it in your mind about some facts, some figures, some situations, some contexts, some persons, some faces. Now, what is very essential for a business is if you could have a good retrieval skill. Quite often what happens is, it happens to me, happens to you, happens to everybody I've heard, I've talked to. They say, I met this person somewhere. I don't know where. I think I have seen this person. Basically it's a poor retrieval. Poor retrieval, because retrieval is something that if you are looking at somebody, if you are seeing somebody and immediately you retrieve that, okay, this person I have met somewhere, this is a location where I have met, this was the context at which we discussed, these are the issues we have shared, and then go further, go forward and re-meet him. That means you have met him before, now you say, hi, how are you? And I'm so and so. If you remember that we have met in that particular meeting or that conference or maybe on a restaurant or maybe on the road, and okay, further, go further. Retrieval is one that I'm talking about. The recognition means face recognition retrieval or the photo memory oriented retrieval, but here the retrieval is also many more. Retrieval of your knowledge. Quite often I found in the interview somebody out of nervousness could not retrieve exactly what he has learned. In the examination you must have faced it. You have memorized everything last night, but when you saw the question and you just simply could not retrieve exactly what was appropriate for that answer. So retrieval skill is personal, very much personal. There are many practices of retrieval. I remember in my school days there was a game, very interesting game. The game was that in a sack, a small sack, there will be 5 items kept and all of us are competing. They will take out one by one. They will take out one item, show everybody, keep it for 10 seconds. Because 10 seconds is the time that we do require for recognizing anything. That's why you'll find that any text that comes, if it is a dynamic text in your TV, then the text before disappearing must be there for at least 10 seconds, at least. If it is not, then what happens is you simply don't register, because our mind takes 10 seconds to transfer this information through our eyes to the mind and then store it. Okay, so they will keep it for 10 seconds. It's something like, this is a pencil, then again put it here. This is a eraser, put it here, and something, a different kind of items. So about 10 items they used to bring out one by one, and all of us used to watch and store in our mind in terms of photo memory or in terms of other memory. Okay, then we were asked to say what are the items they have shown us. The person who could answer all 10 has a fantastic retrieval power. Okay, but many of us at different points of time, either for some competitions we have won, and in many cases I could not retrieve exactly what I saw as a 10th item. It is not necessary that you have to retrieve in sequence, but retrieving what you saw. So what happens is you store it in the memory and then retrieve it. In business, retrieval is very important. Retrieval is something like this in business. Suppose you have gone for sales for a product, and then the person asks you that which of the clients have you served and you supply this product. Then if you say, sir, I'll go back to my office, I'll send you the client list, then you are deferring your links or leads. If you say, we have served these clients, we have provided to these companies. Basically, how could you say? Because you could retrieve immediately. Sometimes what happens is when you cannot retrieve, then you note it down on a small notebook. I have a habit of writing down a small notebook. It's not because I don't trust my memory. Only thing is I do it essentially to ensure that I don't lose the information. Okay? So retrieval either from the written stock or from your memory. And if you do retrieve from your memory, then it gives you more edge over others who are taking the diary out and to read out what he has written down. That's also retrieval. Okay, so important. Reliability is how reliable you are as a person. That's your personal skill, how reliable you are. You have been assigned a project, you have been assigned a task, you have been assigned a responsibility, how reliable you are that you are going to deliver with reliance. Like say, I can rely on you that what you are delivering is right. An example, I've asked you to write a report, 10 pages report, which should be reflecting all the facts and figures of our company, highlighting all positives and hiding the negatives. There would be always some negatives, but suppressing all those negatives. And you get me the report just 2 hours before my meeting, and I have no chance that I'll be scrutinizing it, getting it rectified and all that. But you give me the report, I take it on a face value that I have assigned him this job, he has done the job exactly as I have instructed, so I'm just taking the report and go to the client. Okay? It simply indicates that if I am blindly taking it and going to the client, then you are most reliable to me on this action. This reliability of yourself has to be demonstrated. You cannot say, sir, I am reliable. You can rely on me. You give me the responsibility, I'll do it exactly what you want. You say 1,000 times, but I would say you say 1,000 times, but you have to demonstrate that you are reliable. Reliability is demonstrated through your delivery. This is going to play a major role in when you are being assigned positions. Why do you think that different people, they grow and they are promoted? When there are 10 people worth promoting, only one person gets promoted. Why? Why the rest of the 9 have been kept in abeyance, not being promoted? There are many such small things which helps. So if you think that retrieval and reliability, all these you need to practice. Reliability is intrinsic. You learn through you inherit through the system of education from your parents, from your relatives, from your families. Reliability is not that somebody has to say that, okay, let me teach you how to be reliable. Reliability comes within. Okay, and in case you found that because of the consequences or situations you could not be really reliable, then change yourself, make yourself reliable. Once you have not been reliable does not mean that it cannot be, so change it. Research skill is something which is basically your skill of digging into the insides of the things, researching on anything, in sales, researching on clients, researching on the business, researching on the competitors. They are important. They are equally important compared to researching on the techniques, researching on the products, researching on the technology. So research skill is intrinsic again, but the thing is it can be honed, it can be nurtured, it can be cultured, it can be injected. Everybody who is a researcher, successful researcher, does not mean that they are born researchers. It is just a situation which have compelled them to become researcher, or they have motivated them to be researcher. So for sales, business and all these things, I would say that research well. You remember the preparation I talked about? That means the background preparation. Background preparation is, first arranging the manpower, arranging the funding, arranging the data, and then researching. Researching on the clients, researching on the person whom you are going to meet, researching on the other persons who are likely to be in the meeting, researching on what was your motivation to give you the project, why have they called you, research it, why they have tendered it, why did they call you if it's a selected tender, why if they have selected only 2-3 such kind of people, why you have been called to research on everything. So researching is not academic. People say research is academic. No, I consider research is equally strongly important in the business, in the profession. Okay? Resilience is how much you can take the shock. In business, every day you are subjected to shock. Every day you are subjected to refusal. When I'll talk about sales, in the negotiations and market strategies, when I'll talk about the sales, I will talk about this resilience more. How can you make yourself more resilient? And here I think, yes, one needs to learn, and resilience is demonstrated when you are facing a force. That means how much shock you can absorb, how much you collapse or you succumb to the situations. So resilience can be also trained. All those motivating gurus or the persons who are giving motivational lectures, basically what they are teaching you is to become resilient, because the whole sky is not going to fall on your head if you did not get a project, if you did not get a deal, if you did not get a sale. I have seen many of such people, if they are refused a sale or a contract, they really become emotionally broken down. Emotional breakdown has no scope if you are in the business. You try for 10 projects, you try for 10 doors, tap on 10 doors to sell your products door to door, you might get all 10 refusal. Does that mean that you are going to close your shop? You are going to down your shutter? No. Basically, the resilient power that you have intrinsically, which is now going to tell you, okay, 10, don't worry, let's go for 11th one. How to go ahead with it? How should you take your whole approach, change your approach? All this will depend on little more research. Why did you lose 10? Why did you lose 10 projects? What is the thing that you are missing? Can you supplement it with all other associations or all other inputs? And then basically, then now you are moving to the 11th project venture, and that shows that you are resilient. And now you are going for 11th venture, and when you are going with the full energy. Okay. Responsibility is okay. Reliability is one, responsibility is another. That means you are responsible. You take the onus of it. Your reliability is whether you can be relied on the kind of responsibility given to you, and the responsibility is like, say, whether you are going to do it with full onus. Anything that you do, if you are assigned, or even if you are taking the lead yourself, not assigned, yourself assigned, there also responsibility matters. So the responsibility of a company, it varies from different levels. Level to level, the responsibility varies, and the responsibilities are quite often worked out in the working manual of the company. It is done. In the business, the working manual should very clearly state what is the responsibility of each individual positions. That does not mean that limited to that. It does not mean. It depends on the policy or the ideology of that company, how they want to work. Sometimes some companies, their responsibility is so very compartmentalized that anything goes beyond that, will simply say, no, I am not responsible for that, I will not do that. But in corporates, in private businesses, in government, it is very easy to say that, okay, in government jobs you can always say, I am not supposed to do this, so it is not within my domain, so I surrender. Since it's a very strong protocol, public service protocol, then maybe that you cannot be asked to do it. But in private, this responsibility sometimes overflows. Responsibility is you take the onus, you take the burden, you take the credit, you take the blames. That's the responsibility. Sceptic, very negative term. Skepticism, I think I should tell you a little more on this skepticism. We consider skepticism as very negative. You, as a person, meeting somebody for the first time, you start with a skepticism. Skepticism means trying to know whether the person is right, whether you should talk to him, whether you should open up to him, should you become a friend of him, or does he have any other hidden agenda that why he is meeting you. Many such things come in your mind, and all these starts holding you back. It's something like, in the cartoons you must have seen that there's a good soul, there's an angel and there's a devil. The angel wants to do something and the devil says, don't do it. You remember the Tom and Jerry cartoon, you'll find that. Angel is saying, do it, and the devil is saying, don't do it. And the devil is saying, don't do it, because devil is always full with skepticism. Whether it is good or bad, I personally feel skepticism is not bad, but skepticism should not be expressed. Keep skepticism. because that is the defense mechanism that you have. If you are skeptic, then you are cautious, and if you are cautious, then your moves are calculated. If your moves are calculated, then you know exactly what is to be done, what is to be said, what not to be said, because skepticism is helping you. So skepticism as a defense mechanism is very good, but for God's sake, skepticism should not be visible, should not be expressed, should not be explicit. People should not understand that internally you are working with your skepticism defense mechanism. That means you are screening all things. Like, okay, if you are dealing with me, I am talking to you, and you are internally working with your skepticism mechanism kept as a buffer. Okay, anything that I am saying, you are judging. You are judging that, am I right? Am I saying the right thing? Am I flattering you? Am I telling you the truth? Am I telling you the truth? So skepticism is, in business, is one of the very good thing. Only cautioning is, for God's sake, never be explicit about it. Never express, never let people know opposite to you, sitting opposite to you, that you are working with a skepticism mechanism. All of us always work with skepticism as a safety buffer or defense buffer. Okay, let me put another note of cautioning. If ever your skepticism is reflected through your verbatim, or if it is reflected through your expression, however best you have a better relation later, your skepticism is always registered in the person's mind, that this person started with skepticism. So nobody wants to, befriend somebody with skepticism as the beginning. So skepticism is good, but internally work it out. It's tough, I'll tell you, it's tough. It comes out. If you're skeptic, you can always say, an example, suppose somebody tells you, can you give me a hand, or means help me. Your skepticism prompts you to ask a question, why should I help you? This is what is skepticism. Why? This question, why should I help you? You are being skeptic that he is asking for your help for some benefit of him. If you add one more sentence in the question, why should I help you? What do I get out of it? That means now you are expecting you would be ready to help, but you want something in return. Okay? It's skepticism. I would say start with this. If somebody says, can you give me a hand? You'll say, certainly I'll give you a hand. But you are working with the internally skepticism mechanism. Okay? Certainly I'll give you a hand. If you could kindly tell me that what's the gain that I'll also have. I know that if I give you help, you'll gain. But the thing is, can you also share with me the facts that what would be my gain? So basically the same thing. Same thing in two cases. In one case, your skepticism was explicit to him, and another case, skepticism is not understood, but internally you are there. Okay? Next, selective. Being selective is a matter of choice depending on context, whether you should be selective. If you start becoming a slave of selectiveness, then I'll tell you that your whole world is going to shut down in future. Don't try to be selective at every point of time. My suggestion is, first you try to open up, measure, judge, and then become selective. Here you have to really work internally very hard. What kind of work is this? You start meeting people, and then you start analyzing people, analyzing situations, analyzing his gain, analyzing your gain. Okay? And then you selectively meet some people and continue with such associations. You have met many people, but you have selectively chosen some people to continue with, others you have just said hi, hello, goodbye, that's all. Imagine a situation that in a conference when there are 100 delegates and you are meeting all 100, doesn't matter, you have met everybody. Are you going to continue with your relationship or acquaintance or your interactions with all 100? It will be really unwise, because all 100 may not be beneficial to you, neither it will be beneficial to them. So in such cases what happens is you meet everybody, because if you don't meet everybody, then you don't know each person who could be really potential for your future association. Okay? Then what you do is you make a selection. You make a selection that out of these are the persons I'm going to interact with. It can go to that domain, Suppose there are 5 persons came from the same company in the conference, and you have met, and those 5 is a component of subset of the 100. Now, those 5 persons whom you are meeting, you can now be very selective about out of that 5 which one you are going to contact in future. Not necessary that all 5 just because they belong to one company and you want to have a business association with that company and you are going to have connection with all 5. No, that's also not very wise. You will interact more, and this selection process is not one shot. This selection process is not one shot. This selection process does not happen instantly. It has to be backed with a lot of analysis, lot of research, lot of background study, background research on the person, on the company, your benefits, their benefits, your losses, implications, all these things, through which maybe few steps you will go with all those 5, but by the time you have researched more, you will be discarding many and become selective about only 2 or maybe 1. That does not mean that you will be selectively interacting only with the topmost bosses, not necessary. It may so happen that you have met the top boss along with the 4 other different heads in a conference, and selectively you would prefer to keep contact with one person who is not the chairman or the big boss, because you may not get opportunity to interact with chairman every time, but your interaction or connectivity with one of the heads is very vital. That is how you should always plan for. Okay? So, selectiveness does not mean that you are rejecting others. Selectiveness is basically you are shortlisting some whom you are going to interact with more for business. Self-awareness is again very intrinsic. You be aware about yourself. When you are thinking about personality, you are developing your own personality. At that point of time, you are now arranging yourself, you are analyzing yourself. There will be, maybe it will come, the self-critic I talk about, how you would be aware of what you are. One is by your qualification. You know that what's your level of qualification. And you know that compared to others, where do you stand qualification wise. Qualification is same, but institution wise. If you are from one of the leading institutions of the country, then you should be aware that you have a big role to play, that wherever you are going, you are talking, you are saying something, you are giving some delivery, you are basically representing your qualification earned from that leading institution. So, be aware of that. If you are a product of a very leading institution, you cannot talk like a very poor person, cannot. So, self-awareness is important. As I said, for your qualification, similarly your family background, similarly your work experience, similarly your positions in your own company, similarly in your positions amongst the other companies, you should be self-aware. I always feel that self-awareness assessment you should always do, if possible, once in a month. It's not a big exercise. You have to check over the last 1 month whom you have met, what have you said, what did you manifest, what did you work on, have you gained something, have you lost something, have you been richer, not in terms of money, in terms of knowledge, in terms of manpower, in terms of networking. That means you are now becoming self-aware. And when you are checking this, there can be a good self-awareness checklist also. Let me see if I can give you sometime later a checklist for this. Basically self-awareness checklist is a big problem. Means nobody is interested to listen to the negatives of himself or herself. Nobody. Everybody thinks that what I am doing is right. In the self-awareness, if you are honestly checking, it's something like take your mind out of your body, look at your body and your overall performances, and then you tick what is your all other attributes. And this self-awareness check, if you do very, very diligently and honestly, then you have a chance of improvement. Self-awareness, this outcome, whom you are giving it to for review, yourself. That means you are checking yourself through a very strong mechanism and a format, and against each of many of these attributes, and now you are trying to see where do you belong. Check yourself. If it has gone to the lower score, then improve on which other attributes you are weak. And if you have seen that many of the attributes you are very strong, you can make it stronger, okay, or retain where you want to retain, because it may not be very easy to go stronger than that. So self-awareness is your self-assessment. You are aware of yourself, analyzing individually, and then when you're going in public, you are now aware and manifesting accordingly. This is self-assessment. Okay? So, self-awareness will be now governed by self-assessment. That's what you do. You assess yourself, which I just elaborated. Self-composure is, I talked about the personality. Self-composure is individually how you stand in public. See, standing in front of the mirror, many people try. Many people try to improve themselves standing in front of a full-length mirror. In many of the hotels, big hotels, you will find in your room there is a full-size tall mirror, not very wide, but it shows you fully. Just before leaving the hotel for business or any meetings, you just look at the mirror yourself and see how you look. And then immediately a kind of energy comes into you and you compose yourself. Compose yourself means you set yourself. If you find that your tie is not right, you do it correctly. If you find your suit is not all right, you do it correctly. If you find that something has gone wrong here, you correct it. If you find your hair is not right, you correct it. Basically, self-composure is you are composing yourself before you are leaving for meeting or something. I always prefer, many companies do that, in the reception, they put a mirror. In the lift lobby, they put a mirror. As an architect, I always prefer, I always suggest, if you are going to a public building, then if there is a mirror in front of the lift, close to the lift, when you are waiting at the lift lobby, waiting for the lift to come, you just look at the mirror and see what's gone wrong when you were on travel. In the hotel, you were fine. You composed yourself, but by the time you have come by either personal vehicle or private vehicle, now you see that something gone wrong. The dress got crumpled, tie got dislodged, okay? The suit is not properly in position, the hair has been slightly loose. When you check this, self-composure, that is a self-composure you do immediately there, and if necessary, you will go to the washroom, set yourself, and that's why near the lobby, the washroom in a company, in any of the business house works very well. Okay, how do you compose yourself? What you should do step by step? It will come in my 3rd week's lecture, and there I will be elaborating on interviews and group discussions. And most essential for students who are going to go in future for jobs and other things, I hope it will be very useful. But the interviews and the group discussions will be equally valid and meaningful for those who are going for business negotiations and discussions. Okay, wait for the 3rd week for that. There, many of these I'll again come back and elaborate more, maybe with slight, I would say, animated demonstration. All right. Self-confidence is something which is again intrinsic, but self-confidence sometimes we lose. We lose when you are facing negatives. So what we do is the self-confidence has to be now inculcated. It has to be pushed into you. So self-confidence individually you may have, but always try to see if somebody else could give you more confidence. Try, no problem. Your friend, your spouse, your children sometime, your colleagues, your boss gives you a confidence in you, which builds up your self-confidence. But if you don't have the self-confidence, I can tell you, when you're going for public interaction, you might falter, you might make mistakes, you might use words which you are not supposed to, you might not get a good deal. So self-confidence is something which you can even get by meditating. Again, details will come later. Self-criticism is, as I said, self-awareness, so I was talking about it. Nobody wants to be the critic of himself or herself. My suggestion is be the self-critic. Be the self-critic whom you are criticizing yourself. Why? For improvement, to find out negatives in you. And if it is very difficult to remove those negatives, then be very sure that those negatives will erupt and it will come out in public. And those negatives is going to make you lose on various grounds. So self-criticism is important. You criticize yourself. Even if you, guided by your ego or superego, is not ready to self-criticize in public, if you have made a mistake. But still I'll say, go back to your room, sit quietly, think what you have done wrong, criticize yourself, rectify yourself. Sense of humor is something which not everybody is endowed with that skill. I have seen people who is very humorous yet very, very composed. Humorous as well as composed. I am not talking about those stand-up comedians. Stand-up comedians have a good sense of humor and creative skill of creating humor. If you are sitting in the audience and laughing at that stand-up comedian for his demonstrations or his presentations, then you have a sense of humor. That means you can recognize humor and you enjoy and you laugh or you smile. Sense of humor is important because everybody wants a good personality to be in front, and everybody needs to be having the sense of humor to get rid of many of the negatives which he or she may be going through. Okay, this you don't have to really cut a joke everywhere. But the problem is of the sense of humor, let me tell you, the sense of humor is good, but if every sentence you start cracking jokes or cutting jokes or trying to generate humor, I'll tell you that is again counterproductive. So these things will come in my negotiation lectures, because I'm introducing you to all those individual small skills which I'm detailing it out in future courses in this particular modules. The point is, you must have the sense of humor. If you don't have the sense of humor, it is generic sometimes. Okay, I have seen some people that if as many very valid or very effective jokes you crack in front of him, still the person is looking very dumb. He will not smile. But mind it, internally he may be smiling, but he thinks that by his position, by virtue of position, he is not supposed to smile. Then he is losing his gravity. I have seen such people. He will look at you, won't smile, won't smile in public, but I have seen the same person smiling in private. Okay, so but you must have this. Social skill is that how you have interpersonal interaction. How can you meet people, how you are ready to meet people, how you are ready to interact with people. Social skills will come later. Speculation is, don't confuse it with skepticism. Speculation is you are trying to understand that what's going to be the benefit or the losses. You speculate any action that you are going to take in your business venture or sales venture. You have to speculate the whole thing. This speculation is basically, we always say that we speculate for finance, that if I have this much of money, if I invest, where I should invest and how much I should get as a return. I would say speculation is in every step of your life. Every step, which subject you are going to study, which stream you are going to take, what you are likely to do after you have got that degree, which companies are you going to work with, what kind of salary should you be expecting, what is the level you are expecting to reach in future in the same company. If the same company does not allow you to reach that, then where you are likely to go. This is what is speculation. Okay, you speculate. And the steadiness is, as the word says, that whatever is the situation, you are strong. You are strong and you are very composed and you are working. Okay, don't collapse, don't succumb. This collapse and succumbing, I am not talking about the physical one. Basically what happens is steadiness, which I am saying here, basically I am trying to say the mental steadiness. Physically nothing happens. Mentally you break down, mentally you succumb, mentally you collapse. Steadiness is that where you have to be very, very strongly remaining steady in the mind. So whole personal skills, some more are likely to come. Whole personal skills are basically your mind preparation. Something for sports persons, it's physics. But for business person, I'll say physics is important. You should look smart, you should look good, you should look whatever. But I can still tell you, it's a total mind game. So soft skill that you are going to have, it is basically you cannot be a good business person, good negotiator, good salesman, just becoming doing a everyday gym and have a very good health. No. You may be looking lanky-panky, you may be looking very fat, you may be looking balded. Doesn't matter. It's a mind that you are creating. My suggestion is, friends, when you are developing your personal skills, all these skills that I'm talking about, it's all in the mind. Most of them in the mind. Your composure and everything will definitely, how tall you are, how fat you are, what's the kind of good dresses you have, what kind of brand you are wearing, fine, everything is fine. But I think it's only 5%. This 5% is also very approximate estimate. Only 5%. 95% of the whole game is in your mind. Okay, be mentally steady. Is that fine? Okay, thank you for today. Then in the next module, I'll discuss a little more on this. Enjoy it.